Dominic Raab is to unveil plans to override European judges on the Human Rights Act. The Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister will next week announce a proposed overhaul of the Human Rights Act, HRA, in a bid to prevent UK institutions and courts from being dictated to by European judges in Strasbourg. Mr. Raab aims to protect UK laws and traditions from undue interference while continuing to obey laws within the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR. Though not detracting from the ECHR, Parliament is looking to reserve the right to interpret rulings in ways that fit the nation. A source said, "You cannot overturn a Strasbourg ruling, but you could decide how we interpret it." We decide how best to change the law based on UK traditions and laws. We would decide how to comply with Strasbourg case law. Mr. Raab's consultation paper will set out key measures by which he aims to curtail the influence of the ECHR. These are expected to include a mechanism that would allow Parliament to correct case law that it did not agree with in a specific or special way, and the right for UK courts not to abide by Strasbourg case law. The source said, they should give primacy to UK case law, first and foremost. It is thought the Justice Secretary will also propose tightening the interpretation of Article 8, which protects the right to family life, to avoid it being misused by failed asylum seekers and foreign criminals to prevent being forced to leave the UK. Article 9 is said to account for 2/3 of successful appeals. Further, Mr. Raab is expected to commit to protecting and reinforcing freedom of speech, which he claims has been corroded by political correctness and campaigns. Speaking to Times Radio last Sunday, he candidly said, "We do in this country have a tradition which emphasizes and prioritizes free speech and open debate. I think that's something which is pro-freedom that we'll look at." Citing British philosophers John Locke, John Stuart Mill, and Isaiah Berlin, Mr. Raab added, "In the politics of this country, we've had a heavier emphasis on free speech, transparency, accountability for politicians, for people in positions of influence." If we were going to go down that route, it should have been decided by elected politicians. Hinting at the plans, he said, "I think that's a good example of the kind of balance that we can strike with our own homegrown approach to this, rather than the over-reliance on a continental model, which is effectively what the Human Rights Act has left us with." What I want to see is stronger respect for the democratic prerogatives of Parliament to legislate in those areas. So it's about getting the balance right. But certainly, I think the drift towards continental-style privacy laws, innovated in the courtroom, not by elected lawmakers in the House of Commons, is something that we can and should correct.